ABC 10 News at 5 starts right now.
ABC 10 News at 5 starts now.
The president must be held accountable again.
Calls are growing to remove President Trump from office just one day after his supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol in an effort to overturn the election. Good evening. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. Lindsay Pena has the night off tonight. Let's get you caught up on the very latest. The White House is condemning yesterday's violence, but taking no responsibility. Also, D.C.'s top prosecutor says that President Trump's remarks during a small rally before the riot, they could now be investigated after he urged that crowd to, quote, fight like hell. And House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is threatening to start impeachment proceedings if Vice President Mike Pence doesn't invoke the 25th Amendment. We do have team coverage on the very latest developments on this story. Let's begin with ABC's Andrew Dimbert, who joins us live from Washington, D.C. with the very latest. Andrew.
And after everything that happened last night, today there are growing calls for accountability. It obviously all starts with those violent demonstrators themselves, but also law enforcement and their response or lack thereof, as well as President Donald Trump, with many Democrats and now even some Republicans calling for him to be removed from office. After a night of lawlessness in the nation's capital, Congress finally ratifying the Electoral College vote, cementing Joe Biden's victory on becoming the next president of the United States.
Joseph R. Biden, Jr. of the state of Delaware has received 306 votes.
In what is traditionally a purely ceremonial process, the joint session of Congress was marred by a violent pro-Trump mob who stormed the Capitol. Following President Trump's speech, repeating his false claims of voter fraud, the violent extremists followed his instructions.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
The rioters, some described as domestic terrorists, breaching barricades with ease, even appearing to get help from and taking selfies with some Capitol police officers. President-elect Biden blasting Trump and the angry mob that seized the Capitol, but also the law enforcement response.
Don't dare call them protesters. They were a riotous mob.
The Trump fanatics confronting police inside the halls of Congress, some waving Confederate flags, one even making it to Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office. Vice President Pence and other lawmakers whisked away by security, others left hiding in closets and under desks.
It's wrong, and we've got to rebuild our nation.
The attempted takeover taking a deadly turn. 4 people died, 3 from medical emergencies, and 1 woman was shot and killed by police after she was allegedly part of the mob trying to force their way into the House chamber. Police also recovering 2 working pipe bombs at the Republican and Democratic Party headquarters, later safely detonating them. After the dust settled on one of democracy's darkest days, a bipartisan group of congressional leaders blaming one person for inciting the chaos: Donald Trump.
The president caused this. The president is unfit, and the president is unwell.
And now growing calls from leaders from both parties to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove Trump from office just 13 days before his term expires.
A very dangerous person who should not continue in office.
And sources tell ABC News that the president has discussed with some of his aides the possibility of granting himself a preemptive pardon before he leaves office. Reporting in Washington, D.C. tonight, Andrew Dimbert for ABC 10 News.
Andrew, thank you for that. We've heard about that for quite some time now. What are the chances of that actually happening?
Right. You know, it's really hard to tell because the law is so ambiguous, but so many constitutional lawyers and experts we've talked to say presidents simply cannot issue themselves a pardon.
All right. Andrew Dimbert from Washington, thank you so much. Several Trump administration officials announced their resignation hours after the attack on Capitol Hill. There have been 7 so far, including Trump's former chief of staff and current special envoy to Northern Ireland, Mick Mulvaney, First Lady Melania Trump's chief of staff, Stephanie Grisham, and the president's deputy national security advisor, Matt Pottinger. He is also leaving.
I'm Derek Stahl in the 10 News Live Center. Adding to that list of resignations, the chief of police for the Capitol Police Department. He announced he will be resigning in the wake of the riots. We also learned this afternoon that 1 Capitol police officer died after all the chaos yesterday. Initially, Chief of Police Stephen Sund defended his department's response, saying they had a robust plan in place ahead of the demonstrations. But videos like this one, this is that video you've seen of that lone officer trying to hold off the mob, really generated generated a lot of criticism. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called on Sun to step down. President-elect Joe Biden said the police department seemed to crack down much harder on Black Lives Matter supporters over the summer than they did on the mob that stormed the Capitol yesterday. Up to 60 officers got hurt in all this. 15 were taken to the hospital. Again, one officer, we've learned, has now died. Sun's resignation takes effect just a few days before Inauguration Day. Derek Stahl, ABC 10 News.
I'm still trying to process, like, why was she there? Like, why was she in that position?
Friends of Ashley Babbitt, the San Diego woman shot and killed inside the Capitol, are trying to wrap their heads around how things escalated to that point. ABC 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala has more from those who knew her.
Ashley Babbitt grew up in San Diego County and went to El Capitan High School. She later enlisted in the Air Force, and friends from the military say she loved her country, but they don't understand why she was inside of the Capitol building.
We deployed together in 2012. She was the coolest person I probably met in the Air Force. It's like, why was she even there for this to happen?
Charles Breckenridge remembering his friend Ashley Babbitt as someone who had a strong personality and passion for her country.
She was super smart, so I'm still trying to process, like, why was she there? Like, why was she in that position?
Babbitt grew up in Lakeside and went to El Capitan High School. She served a total of 12 years in the Air Force Reserves, and Air National Guard, and was most recently living in Ocean Beach. She was an avid and vocal supporter of President Trump. Babbitt was part of the large group who stormed the Capitol Wednesday. Capitol Police say she was shot by a Capitol Police employee as people were forcing their way toward the House chamber where members of Congress were sheltering in place. She was taken to the hospital where she later died. Her grandfather said while his own political views are neutral and he didn't always agree with Babbitt, he was supportive of how passionate she was.
You can't argue with her because she never would. She served time in the military. She's passionate about everything, particularly Donald Trump for some reason.
Breckenridge says he recognized what Babbitt was wearing when he saw video of the shooting and still can't believe how quickly things escalated, leading to his friend's death.
It's been craziness since I realized that was her in the video. I'm angry at people, but I don't want to be, because I know that's not going to help anything. It's crazy to think that she's gone.
Mimi Alcala, ABC 10 News.
The Capitol Police employee who fired the shot has been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation.
A Santee City Councilman is looking to clear his name tonight after false claims that he was in D.C. during the protests. He told our ABC 10 News reporter Jennifer Kastner that he's been getting angry calls and emails all day.
The council member said that he never left San Diego and that the Santee mayor can verify that. Santee City Council member Dustin Trotter is defending his reputation after social media posts falsely accused him of being at the nation's capital for the violent protests.
All just misinformation.
On Facebook, users misidentified him in a video, but he told ABC 10 News that he was in Santee, not D.C.
Yesterday, for example, I had a meeting with the city manager at 10:30 in the city of Santee. I actually had lunch with the mayor at 11:30 yesterday.
One way I know that he wasn't involved is because he and I were having lunch yesterday when all that was going on.
Santee Mayor John Minto said that he and Trotter are both conservatives, but
Dustin and I, we agree. The election's over. Let's get on with our business. And I can tell you, I've never seen anything from him that said anything about violence or acting against our government.
We actually got some emails at City Hall today requesting that I resign or that I step down from my council position.
Trotter said he firmly denounces the actions at the Capitol.
Law and order needs to stand in this country at all times.
One Facebook user who was involved wrote to ABC 10 News that as soon as they figured out the information was wrong, they deleted comments and posted a retraction. Jennifer Kastner, ABC 10 News.
Democrats and Republicans watched in horror as yesterday's events unfolded at the Capitol. ABC 10 News reporter John Horn spoke to local Republicans about what the violence means for the party's future.
The whole day yesterday and all the actions were really just wretched and disgusting.
San Diego City Councilman Chris Cate is still trying to come to terms with the sight of pro-Trump rioters storming the Capitol building.
That was an abomination of not only this country, but of the Republican Party.
Cate is the lone remaining Republican on the otherwise Democratic San Diego City Council. He considers himself a fiscal conservative and social moderate and says he never voted for Donald Trump, and he does not believe the election was stolen.
There were 74 million people who voted for Donald Trump. I can't imagine that all of them were supportive of what happened yesterday. But that's now what we're left with.
The question now is what's next for the party, given Wednesday's carnage and Trump's impending departure. Cate says Republicans must get back to communicating their basics.
I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the power of the individual. I don't believe government has all the answers for everything and everyone.
Political analyst John Dadian, also a Republican, says the party must stick to a simple message.
Conservatives believe those who govern best govern least. Democrats believe government has a role in our lives. Good arguments on both sides, very simple. But if you go back to basics, then you'll be forgetting about Donald Trump.
Dadian says Wednesday's events were not Republican tied, but Trump tied. John Horn, ABC 10 News.
We reached out to the head of the local Republican Party. He declined to comment, saying things should settle down first. Stay on top of any new developments in the Capitol with the 10 News app. A free version is available in the App Store.
All right, this North County massage therapist is under arrest for sexual battery against multiple women. Escondido police began investigating Patrick Stone 2 weeks ago when a woman says that he touched her inappropriately in a sexual manner during a massage. Another woman came forward with similar allegations yesterday. So today, police sent a female undercover detective in. She says that Stone did the very same thing. He's now in jail facing sexual battery charges for all 3 incidents. Escondido police are asking any other victims to now come forward. Some Chula Vista residents, they were forced to evacuate their homes this morning due to a quick moving fire. This started around 10:30 just south of Sweetwater Reservoir. Firefighters from multiple agencies, they battled that blaze from both the air and the ground. Crews say that it was difficult to reach because of the area where it started. The blaze did burn close to a few homes, but firefighters were able to stop it at 20 acres. The cause is under investigation. And CHP officers are investigating the death of a young man on the 78 in San Marcos. This happened around 6:15 this morning on the highway east of San Marcos Boulevard. CHP says the 22-year-old man veered off the roadway and down an embankment. He then got out of his car, walked onto the freeway, and was hit by another driver. Of course, he did not survive. It's not clear right now what caused the driver to go off the road or to step out in front of another car.